So this video was meant to be filmed and uploaded back in December, but I decided to hold off until January and do a New Year purge. So now I'm just sitting here surrounded by my poor decisions. Welcome back to my channel, and this is round 9 for my Project 333 challenge. I started this way back in June of 2023. So we are 9 rounds in, approximately 2.5 years later, and this project's really stagnated and it's really kind of lost its purpose. So rather than doing a rush job back in December, I decided just to give it a miss for an extra month and then to come back in January and essentially refresh the whole thing. So Project 333 refers to a challenge created by Courtney Carver. I did read the book for this. I'll have a picture of it up here, and I'll have a link for the Goodreads post on that book, as well as a link to Courtney's website and a few other bits and pieces down in the description. But the purpose of this project was to curate, I guess, a capsule wardrobe of 33 items that you then use over 3 months. This does mean it is a very seasonal, rotational wardrobe, and you were not meant to have any clothing in the wardrobe that is fit for a different season. I.e., if we're in summer, you do not have your winter clothes in that wardrobe, which means that in total, you would have more than 33 items, but you just rotate in certain pieces so that they are more seasonally appropriate. Therefore, at any one time, you only have 33 items in your closet. Carver did the project so that those items also included jewelry, scarves, hats, shoes, all of those accessory style items as well. But then also had exemption items, which obviously include things like underwear, pajamas, bathers, sports and loungewear. I have not been doing it to the same extremes as Courtney, and part of me thinks that I let the fact that in the book Carver notes that 33 is an arbitrary number that she come up with that was something that felt doable and achievable, but also made the 333 roll off the tongue and sound nice. And because that was kind of highlighted, and it wasn't a do or die, that it was 33 items and you could have your exemptions for whatever you wanted to, I probably started off too soft. And as you can tell, I have way more than 33 items. Therefore, I think over the 2.5 years, I've never, I guess, got to the aha moment that Carver does within the book. I've never kind of had that realization that you don't need to have all these clothes. You can just have a selected number of pieces that will work. And to be clear, I'm not about to just dump all my wardrobe, stick 33 items in the cupboard and call it a day. We are definitely not at the point that 33 is a achievable number for me. And I think some of that is because I'm still trying to find my style. Style is a very interesting concept. You have style that suits your body type, but you also have style that suits your personality and your aesthetic taste. I thought I had a very clear understanding of my style, but I've noticed a couple little issues. One, it is very much a situation of eclectic items that I like, just kind of all bundle into my cupboard. Some work together, some definitely do not, which obviously means that those that don't work with more alternative pieces get used a lot less. Also, my body shape has changed a lot over the last few years. So it's also trying to find what suits your body, what looks good and makes me feel good. So I think going forward, my aim is to move away a lot from the idea of this being a numbers-based challenge. When I first started it, I would count all the items in my cupboard, would go through and say, I've got 10 t-shirts, I've got 8 pairs of pants, and then the next round I would go through my cupboard, remove anything that I wanted to declutter for whatever reason, would note anything I brought new into my collection, and then once again would just provide the numbers. It was more like a closet inventory than a project that's assisting me in curating my cupboard or making a more manageable clothing pile collection, I guess. So like I mentioned, I really want to move this more towards finding my style, finding what designs suit me, finding what aesthetic look I would like to portray. Because especially as I guess I get older and my career direction changes, my professional life changes, trying to find clothing that still keeps my personality while still working for my size and my life ambitions, I guess, is something that we're still very much working on. So I still want to keep the uniqueness that I like to bring to my wardrobe, but I also find sometimes the ideas in my head on what something will look like on me is definitely not how it ends up looking. And a lot of that is because of the fact that my body shape, my body composition is not necessarily similar to the inspiration that I find. But then even on top of that, where you hold your weight can change, where in some items of clothing you might be one size, in a different design you might need a larger or a smaller size. So what's happened prior to me sitting down to film this video is I pulled out all the clothes in my cupboard, absolutely everything. The reason I decided to do that is recently I went to a awards event. I packed my go-to going out dress. I think I'll put a picture of me wearing it at one point over here. I got to my hotel, all good, everything's okay, and then I went to put the dress on. And it fit just. I managed to zip it up with a lot of huffing and puffing, and I definitely had to shove a bit of spillage into it. And I did spend a large portion of the night a little bit worried that maybe it was a little bit too boisterous in certain areas, and it wasn't really that comfortable. So I think that was a bit of a kicker, especially towards the end of last year, to kind of say, hey, your clothing is maybe getting a bit tight, getting a bit small, maybe needs a bit of a review. And it really, to a certain extent, kind of shocked me, because at the same time that this was happening and I was starting to notice that I would go to put something on that I had worn only a couple weeks ago and it fit and it looked good, they were starting to be too tight. People were also telling me, on the other hand, and I was looking good and like I had lost weight. But reality probably was actually going the other direction. I don't exactly know if I have or haven't lost weight because I don't weigh myself very often, but definitely my body shape was changing in a way that meant that majority of my clothing wasn't fitting and I was needing to go up a size. And I don't really want to have clothes in my cupboard that I go to put on and have that dreaded moment before you go out for something where the thing you've been planning in your head doesn't look the way you wanted it to because it doesn't fit. And how you're imagining things are going to look just isn't how they're looking. And I think size and weight is a very interesting concept because there are two kind of sides to that dilemma, I guess, in relation to perspective, self-perspective on your size and weight. Recently, I was reading an Instagram post by Tori Block. I'll have Tori linked down below, and I would definitely recommend following. She's a plus size girly who definitely pushes plus size style, and I absolutely adore her Instagram. But she was talking about body dysmorphia and kind of showed a picture of now versus previous, talking about how you feel about weight and how they felt about weight then, their weight at that point, and they thought they were smaller than they actually looked, and where this time they are smaller but they feel like they look bigger, or they feel like they are bigger. And I actually was surprised that I kind of related to what they were saying, because I think right now the image I have in my head on what I look like, essentially what size I am, is not actually reality. I think that I'm smaller. I think that something's going to fit or something's going to look good, but I'm not fully taking into, I guess, consideration the full look of my body. And I wonder if some of that is because you can't actually see yourself unless you look in a mirror or you look at a photo. Your perception of the world is, it's coming from up here. It's not, you don't get that full view. What made me think about that aspect is recently a friend posted on Facebook a comment that their young daughter had made to them when they'd said, "Oh, don't you look good in your ballerina outfit?" And their daughter had commented back saying, "Well, I wouldn't know because I can't see myself." And I think that is kind of how it works. You build this image in your head on what you look like, but maybe that's not correct. And that can go both ways. Sometimes you think that you are bigger than you are, and sometimes you think that you're smaller than you are. It's like that comment that, don't you wish you were as fat as the first time you thought you were fat? And it's so true. Back when I first started my channel, and probably even prior to that on my Instagram, I was trying to do a bit more of that weight loss kind of thing. And I had posted a few posts. I might put a couple of them up here on the screen, where I was doing, comparisons, and I was endeavoring to lose weight. And at that point, I was probably a good 30 to 40 kilos lighter than I am now. And when I say that, it registers and it feels correct. But when I'm picturing myself in my head, I'm still probably picturing that smaller individual. Just a sidebar here, my discussions about weight are not implying that one is better than the other. Health is always the main thing that you should be looking at. You can be larger and be healthy, and you can be skinnier and not be healthy at all. So I'm not relating weight to health, and I'm definitely not relating weight to beauty, because none of those things are synonyms for each other. So I just wanted to sidebar, highlight that. So while I'm sitting here talking about putting weight on, clothes not fitting anymore, at no point am I indicating, saying, suggesting just because I'm bigger doesn't mean I'm not a cutie pie. So though obviously society very heavily puts a lot of weight on weight, we are not doing that here. This discussion, this thought process is more about the fact that because you are forever changing, and that can be going both ways, up or down. For me at the moment, it's going up, but it means that certain things in my cupboard no longer fit and need to be moved along. Because I don't want to open my cupboard and go to put something on and feel sad or disappointed that something doesn't fit me. I also don't want to end up being stuck in a situation where no clothes fit me and I end up having to wear something that I don't feel cute, feel myself in. I also want to note that I have had some health issues, concerns raised lately that are, I guess, compounded by my weight, the weight that I'm putting on my body, the excess pressure I'm putting on my organs, and the things I choose to eat and put into my body, adding to those issues. So there is definitely a change in healthy lifestyle that I need to make, which will most likely result in a change in my body weight. That lifestyle change, that health and fitness change, if that's something that you're interested in, I'm happy to do some videos on that and take you along for the journey. So let me know down in the description. But I guess I'm letting you know all this so that you don't watch this video and then later on, if I do happen to see changes in my body shape, have you think that I'm saying one thing in one hand and then acting another way in another. I think you can both be happy with how you look and also be working to change things in other aspects of your life, such as health and exercise, that then result in changes to how you look. But that doesn't mean that neither are correct, that nothing is a lie or not the truth as such. So that feels like a lot of talking for me to say that my body has changed shape, which means that now a lot of my clothes did not fit me well. And though I am happy to essentially just keep moving forward with my clothing, on the other side, I have got a reason for me to be working on my health and fitness that may result in my body eventually going backwards in size rather than forwards. So as you can see, all my clothes are back here. As I mentioned off camera, I have tried everything on. So here I have all the clothes that are remaining, but I also, back behind here, have a basket with clothes that I am going to be decluttering. We're going to be starting the year with a fresh, size appropriate, complete wardrobe. And going forward, it's going to be about loving what I have, knowing what I have, and really honing in on my style that suits my personality and also the body that it's housed in. So what we're going to do for the rest of this round, this episode, so you're going to speed watch me put everything back into my cupboard before we have a quick chat about the things I'm going to be decluttering. Though I do need to note, there is approximately a bag full of stuff that I've decluttered already as part of this, but I have given to my sister. So those items aren't going to be touched on. We're going to touch on some of the other items I still have here that we have decluttered. And then going forward into the next round, the videos are going to, yes, be about what's in my cupboard. Am I getting rid of anything? Have I brought anything in? But I'm also going to try and focus on how I'm utilizing my wardrobe. And if there's any items I'm finding I tend to lean towards more, or things that I'm wearing that maybe don't fit my style. But please let me know down in the comments if this is something that you're interested in following along with, or if there's anything specific you'd like to see included. But let's jump into getting all of this into there. And we're finally done. That was a lot. And I still have this one shirt to go in there that got its chain all knotted up in the wash, so I have to unknot it before I put it in. I think with the second cupboard over here, the issue is obviously that I also use my cupboard currently as a dumping ground, so I really need to declutter it, because I think a lot of those dresses would fit in there nicer if they had the space to breathe, and it wouldn't have been so difficult getting things in there, because I can tell you right now I'm not that interested in having to take things out of it. I am, however, pleased to say that this full washing basket over here is everything I'm going to be decluttering. Majority of it doesn't fit. Some of it is stained, some of it is damaged, but it is moving out from my cupboard. And you know, the basket I've spoken about in previous episodes that I was keeping under my bed, now these tops in here are just keepsakes. Otherwise, everything else is in the cupboards. I decided to do that because I realized that stuff was going into that basket, which I was keeping under my bed, and just was never coming out again. So if I want to use it, if I want it to be worthwhile, I need to put it in the cupboards. And even though I've had this huge declutter here, it still feels very overwhelming. I realized probably about halfway through, I was like, okay, yeah, that's enough. And I turned around and was like, whoa, I am not even halfway through putting all this back in the cupboard. So I can definitely see there is going to be space to downsize. But then when I look at every individual item, I don't see what I would like to downsize. Not what I can, because obviously you can downsize anything really, but what I would like to, what no longer gives me joy, I guess, is probably the best way to look at it. I'm currently just going to take it as it is and see how we go. You could see I did put all the coat hangers on backwards, which will hopefully mean over the coming 2 months before our next round, I will be able to see what I'm actually using. We are in summer currently, so I'm not imagining that I will be touching any of my winter wear, but I definitely think I can get some use out of a lot of my summer clothes. And a couple of those shorts I pulled out of the under the bed basket, so hopefully I'll be able to get some use out of them. But that's all I've got for you today. Please let me know down in the comments what you want to see from this series going forward. Also, if you're interested in seeing a wardrobe declutter of some type, let me know about that too down in the comments. Otherwise, I'm Verity. This was the 9th round for my project 333, and now to the outro.